Sadly, folks, we are going to make a video about another passing within bodybuilding, especially a young individual who has just passed away. Bodybuilder José Silva has just recently passed away at 29 years old of cardiac arrest while at the gym. Local fire station provided aid and tried to resuscitate him, but to no avail. Unfortunately, he passed away, leaving behind siblings, children, and a wife. And the best that Silva ever placed was ninth in the South American Championships in the NPC. He did retire from bodybuilding, as that show was in 2019, but even then, he is obviously still using a little bit of the Azul. But this death happened in Brazil, the same situation in which the guy we talked about a little while ago, who was, I believe, 19 years old, had passed away, died in the same country, or at least the same region. And the issue here is very clear to me, and I've talked about it before in that video, as well as many other videos. And quite frankly, my theories are, because this individual maintained a really lean physique year-round, that most of the cardiac issues that bodybuilders tend to experience are relative to the thermogenic, lipolytic, or just fat loss compounds that they take. Certain adrenergic compounds like clenbuterol, albuterol, and the like salbutamol are really potent at stimulating heart rate elevation, blood pressure increasing, and more importantly, the hypertrophy of the myocardium, the muscle around your heart. You combine a high dose of these quote-unquote fat burners with even a moderate dose of anabolics or growth hormone, you are going to hypertrophy the heart, which is not good. It makes the heart less efficient, it pumps slower, and it gets less blood out than it would if it was smaller, believe it or not. At least the ejection fraction is much lower, which the lower it gets, the closer to heart failure you become. So in cases like this, where we see South Americans passing away, which happens relatively often within this community of individuals, I usually point fingers towards abuse of thermogenics. I do this because in South America, the programs that I've seen involve a abusive level, I mean, truly shocking level of these compounds. I mean, these are certain compounds that will cause heart failure, have been shown to cause the cirrhosis of the scarring of the heart tissue. And we have Brazilian bodybuilders or South American bodybuilders using upwards of 3 times the clinical upper level dose for a compound like this. Then you also combine thyroid medications on top of this, which will further stimulate cardiac morphology and change the dynamics of your metabolism. You're just asking for a recipe for a fucking failure. And I don't necessarily believe that steroids or growth hormone or even insulin is the huge mediator in relation to cardiac deaths in bodybuilding, but in fact it is the preps or the fat loss phases, which bodybuilders will use excessive doses of these compounds, that is actually going to kill them. But I really think it's an important thing to note here is, from this, what can we learn? Because these people essentially lose their lives doing what we do every single day, or at least some of us. So what can we take from their mistakes and use their passing as a gift in a sense, or honor them in the way of doing what they did better or differently so that those exact problems don't happen to us again and again and again. And here is the essential cliff notes. The first thing that everyone needs to be very aware of when it relates to fat loss and trying to enter a fat loss phase from maybe a massing phase or a maintenance phase is that calories are king. You aren't going to get anywhere without the proper dosage of calories. And in fact, you don't need any fat loss agents to get extremely lean. I say this a lot, but again, most of my audiences are new every video I post. About 60% of the audience that watches these are new individuals, which thank you guys for being here. You should send a subscribe my way if you can. But I competed in EP and BA naturally. I won my pro card naturally. I had almost shredded glutes naturally, right? I diced body naturally. That was all through simple cardio and calorie restriction. And I think people often forget that calories are king. You don't need to get insane with the dosage of clenbuterol just to get lean. In fact, clenbuterol is not even needed, believe it or not. The other thing is that, as a second point of convergence here, you can always do more cardio, right? I think people also get caught up on the fact that doing cardio is going to burn their muscle, which arguably is just so not true. But even if that is the case, we can do things to counteract that by eating protein around those specific cardio sessions, splitting the cardio up multiple times a day, or taking things that will aid in anabolism. Things like, for example, creatine. Imagine that, or essential amino acids, which you can sip on while you do the cardio. There's a lot of different options out there, and they don't all involve steroids and drugs. But my point is that you can always do more cardio. Again, going back to when I got super lean naturally, I was doing for the last 3 weeks of the prep about 75 minutes twice a day on the stair climber. Twice a day. That is more than 2 hours of cardio, 2 hours and 30 minutes to be exact, on a daily basis. I don't see many bodybuilders going above 30 to 40 minutes in preps these days, and yet they don't show up in shape at all. You don't need clen to counteract your laziness. You just need to not be lazy, essentially, to lose more fat. And one of the most valuable points, and the last point that's really critical here, is tracking health metrics. And this is so important on a prep especially. You have to check. You have to check your resting heart rate. If this thing is chronically elevated and it's not sitting at or below 60s, you should be concerned. There's something going on and it needs to be addressed immediately. That kind of heart rate isn't healthy for anybody, especially not a bodybuilder taking copious amounts of drugs and using polypharmacy, which means the use of multiple different drugs in one setting. You should also be monitoring your blood pressure, as the blood pressure will increase with the use of certain stimulants, and that chronically high blood pressure can also lead to many different cardiac events that you completely want to be able to avoid for your entire life. But the moral of the story is, I just want to make this so exceedingly clear. You do not need any form of fat burner to lose fat. All you need is enough time and a calorie restriction. That's it. The thing that people want or seek the most is the immediacy of everything, which I don't fault anyone for, because I'm in the same boat. What human doesn't like immediacy? It's the reason that Amazon is so popular, because you can order something and then it arrives to your door the same day or the next day, and it's almost magical. But unfortunately, our bodies don't work in a hackable manner like that. We just simply have limits, and we can't exceed those specific limits. And once you do try, biology just doesn't give free lunch.
I'm free!
It's going to take back what it gives, and sometimes that means it's taking back a life. So be careful with what you do and your decisions as someone looking to progress their physique to an enhanced level. There's a lot of mistakes that can be made along the path that you are going to take, and you need to be conscious of those mistakes, because many people make them chronically all over the world and end up in situations just like this, where they're passing away at 28 years old, just a year older than me. I hope Jose has some things planned for his family and they're taken care of. I wish the best to his kids. It's very unfortunate to see, and it can be prevented. I 1000% believe this. It just takes proper education and utilization of these things without the abuse of them. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, let me know down below what your thoughts are. Am I wrong about the lipolytics, the thermogenics, all of those compounds, or am I right?